dog is trying desperately to plow through the rubble, even though the blood has stained his paws red, but he still refuses to give up. 3 baby dogs also help together. He tried to take away the collapsed pieces of wood and dug the planks with his blood-stained front legs. At regular intervals, the dog called out to the 2 unconscious people inside. The girl who heard the dog barking slowly opened her eyes. She turned her head to look at her grandfather and tried to wake him up, but he was unconscious. Seeing the owner wake up, the dog barked even harder, but he couldn't save his master. It can only keep digging, keep shaving until late at night, until the next day. It still could not dig open the ruins. Suddenly it seems to smell the human scent. It ran forward and finally found the rescue team through the smell. It bit each other's clothes, just won't let go. At first the rescue team thought the dog was just playful and pulled it aside, but the dog does not want to leave. The rescue team seems to see the dog's meaning. Squatting down to ask the dog's owner whether trapped, the face of the dog's gloomy look turned and ran forward. 2 people immediately followed. In the dog's lead, the rescue team quickly locked the girl-trapped place and began the rescue work. Soon the 2 were successfully rescued. The dog barked excitedly to show their gratitude. The plane received the signal to come to the rescue, but the airflow was too strong to land. The rescue team first pulled the injured grandfather onto the plane. When it was the girl's turn next, she wanted to take the dogs with her, but between the grandfather urgently sent to medical treatment, the rescue team can only choose to save people first. Hearing this, the girl began to cry, which meant that the dogs could not leave with her. The girl prayed to take the dogs with her, and how the dogs wanted to be with their master. At the urgent urging of his teammates, the man put up a pull-up gesture. The girl looked at the dog left behind, finally could not help but cry. Although the dog did not understand, but it knew in its heart that grandfather urgently needed to go to the rescue. The girl cried very sad. After rescuing the girl, the plane immediately turned around and flew to the hospital. The dog ran all the way to catch up with the owner of the plane. Whether its front legs are still bleeding or not, it can't stop it from following its master's heart. After running for several kilometers, the plane was getting farther and farther away from it. The dog was also exhausted, and eventually only the dog and its children were left behind. It saved the humans in the earthquake, but no one could save it. How much it wants to be with its master. When the dog was small, it had no father or mother. It was an abandoned puppy. This day it met Anna and her brother, but the brother said that the father was very afraid of dogs. Anna had to sadly give up the idea of adoption. Just as the 2 people left, the dog followed them up and looked at them. Once a dog recognizes its master, no matter how to drive it away, it will follow you. I have no choice but to scare the brother. They trotted all the way to find that the dog did not follow. The 2 were very disappointed, and when they turned around, the puppy rolled down the slope. So the 2 adopted the puppy, fearing that their dad would find out. They took the puppy to their secret base again and fed it milk from the house. But this is not a long-term plan, and the 2 try to find Grandpa again to help. Grandpa puts the puppy in his clothes and tries to bring it into the room. Dad looked at the strange grandpa and unzipped the shirt and poked out a puppy. Dad screams loudly at this scene, and no matter what, Dad does not agree to keep it. Looking at the quarrel in front of him, Anna sadly left with the puppy in her arms, but in the evening still did not return. Dad was distraught and took his brother with him to look for it, and eventually found Anna in her secret base. It turned out that she had fallen asleep in the grass with the puppy. Dad was touched to see this scene, and from this moment the puppy had a new name. It was called Mary. As time passed, Dad grew fond of it and gave his nest to Mary, and so Mary grew up in the family's care. A year later, she turned from a puppy into a mother of 3 children, living in the countryside with her grandfather. I thought I could always be so happy, but suddenly there was an accident. The day the birds were flying south in flocks, the sky appeared in blocks of dark clouds. Animals also seemed to sense the arrival of disaster. Mary told the children to go into the nest and then kept calling the master to come out. The master, who heard the dog barking, felt strange, and before he could react, the glass of water on the table began to shake. A moment the house began to shake violently. A large closet fell directly on the 2. Grandfather protects his granddaughter, and his own leg has been smashed. Outside the house, Mary tried to break free from the dog's leash. Even though its paws had been cut by the glass, it could not stop its advance. Finally, it broke free of the leash and got into the rubble and found the 2. It licked Anna's cheek, as if to tell the master not to be afraid of my presence. It pulled hard on its grandfather's sleeve to pull them out. helplessly biting through itself to be bounced on the closet. Aftershocks came again, so that Mary could not see the master's figure. The two were in danger inside, and Mary only dug desperately at the rubble, until the next day it met the rescue team. It thought the plane could take it away with the children, but as the plane flew faster and faster, it stopped, convinced in its heart that its master would come to its rescue. So Mary did not leave the place, choosing to guard the ruined home of her master with the children. Under the planks of the ruins, it found a leather ball that its owner had bought for it. Mary took it in her mouth and led the children along the path they used to take, and crossing the wooden bridge full of memories, all the way to the master's secret base, silently waiting for the master to return. But it waited to pull a few days or no results, left the master's 3 children, but became a problem for Mary. It went into the rubble to find food for the children, and finally found half a packet of dog food. But just when he turned around, the baby dogs were endangered. A flock of crows was bullying the children mercilessly. As a mother went up to protect her children, she did not expect to be scratched by the crows. But Mary is not afraid. In order to protect her children, she reveals the most brutal side of her doggy nature and bravely chases away the crows. The hungry children ate their dog food while Mary lay on her side and watched quietly. She wanted to let the children eat first, but in less than a minute the children had eaten all the dog food, leaving nothing for their mother. Hungry, it stared at the pigeons not far away. It swallowed and crept forward on curled up legs. Without surprise, it failed. Reluctantly, Mary came back to the ruins. It accidentally found the refrigerator. It took a lot of effort to open the refrigerator. It went in through the door, but what it did not expect was to lock itself inside. It struggled for a long time before it opened the refrigerator door. Although he had been hungry for several days, he still left the sausage to the children, because it has to hold on to wait for the master to come to them. As the weather got colder, Mary took the blanket out from under the wooden board. It rained heavily on the cold night, and they were shivering from the cold. The mother still watched over the children as they slept. Day after day passed, its fresh fur covered with sludge. The puppy came to his master's base hungry every day, still insisting on waiting for his arrival. This night, Mary still took the children to wait for the master, while passing through the arch bridge. A sudden aftershock made the arch bridge break. The mother and her children fell into the river together. Luckily, it was safe with the children. The tired mother, one by one, took the children to the shore. At this point, she is exhausted, lying on the ground, cannot move. The baby dogs gathered around the mother, seemingly heartbroken mother dog, but Mary gradually closed her eyes. Anna, the owner, missed Mary and her children in her heart in the shelter. It was suddenly reported in the news that there would be a storm in the affected area of the town. Hearing the news, Anna was very anxious. She found her brother and tried to save Mary. If there is another heavy rainstorm, the village where the dog is located will be completely flooded. It would die with the children. Thinking about this, Anna has cried. The brother looked at his sad sister and decided to take her with him. But what the two did not expect was that all the exits had been closed by the rescue team. The 2 siblings had to go around to the path ready to cross this mountainous area to the village. A few hours later, it suddenly started to rain heavily. The 2 men fell again and again in the slippery slope of the heavy rain. Even the rocks rolling down from the high mountains could not stop them from going to save the dog. Sister suddenly fell to the ground and screamed in pain. The brother took off his shoes and saw that his sister's feet were bleeding because of the long rush. The brother was very heartbroken for his sister, but they never gave up. The brother picked up his sister and continued to walk in the rain, taking heavy steps, one step at a time. But the sister's shoes accidentally fell off the cliff. The brother put his own socks on the sister's feet. They passed through countless rivers. The sister developed a high fever due to the long drenching rain. Dad found that the 2 children were missing. He followed the rugged mountain path and found his daughter's bloody socks. He yells frantically. In the midst of the stumbling of one road, he found a brightly lit ruin ahead. Dad rushed in, finally finding his brother and the sister he was guarding and taking them back to the hospital together. A month later, as the aftershocks abated, the rescue team decided to take the villagers back to see their destroyed home. They had just gotten off the plane and hurried to the house where they once lived. Anna called around for the dogs, but did not see them or her children. Just as the girl was disappointed, she suddenly thought of her secret base. She crossed the familiar path and came to the secret base where she and the dog used to live. They called out over and over again and ran through the whole secret base again. but still no dog in sight. The sister finally couldn't help but cry. She knew the dog was dead with the babies. A strong sense of guilt made her cry even more. Dad heartily held them in his arms and soothed them. Suddenly a childish barking sound came and a baby dog ran over. Anna saw it and rushed over to it. 2 more came next, and it turned out that the children were still alive, but only the mother dog was missing. The sister shouted, but there was still no response. This time the sister was completely desperate. Dad looked at his sister in pain, and suddenly turned his head to see a sludge-covered dog mother dragging her exhausted body slowly towards them. When the sister turned to look, the mother dog also saw the eyes full of missing master. It ignored the pain in the leg to the master ran. This moment the dog waited 30 days. This dog went through all kinds of harsh trials. I do not know how many difficulties encountered, and finally waited for the master. It can finally be with its master again. Sometimes people betray, but the dog can do absolute loyalty. No matter how cruel the reality is, the dog will never leave you. I just hope you can love it well.